Hey ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel. My name is KPZ. You're here on the home of the Slightly Above Average Ship Review, and I got a game for you today in the Tier 6 Soviet tech tree destroyer, the Minsk. Looking at the history book, the Minsk was one of 6 Leningrad-class destroyer leaders, Project 1, built during the 1930s. It's saying it's one of the 3 Project 38 variants, but the Leningrad was not Project 38. It was Project 1. So it says the 2 batches of ships were Project 1 and Project 38. Why wouldn't it be Project 2? Anyway, I guess let's look at the teams. I don't know what map we're on. But anyway, the ship was sunk by German dive bombers, later salvaged and repaired, and eventually reclassified as a training ship, then a target ship, and later was sunk. All right, so I think this is shards. I was looking at the history books instead of the screen, so we're moving out here. We're in the Minsk, and I'm going to link my old Minsk video at the 2-minute mark, one of the very first videos I made, probably video number 2, when I finally realized how to play the Minsk after watching a lot of Zarkun videos. And that occurred after Zarkun killed me in the Minsk, and I appeared as a guest star on his channel of, hey, look at this moron trying to torp rush my Iowa. So anyway, I think we're down tier in this game. The Minsk used to be set up with a slower main battery reload and a shorter torpedo range. Used to have a torpedo range of just 4 kilometers. They were essentially worthless. As we spot the Summer CE over here. Speaking of torpedoes, you got these new 6-kilometer torpedoes. Now, as you can see, the Summers is not very far away, and he is advancing. And, you know, the Summers is really OP ship, in my opinion, especially the Summers CE, unchanged from PC. But one thing it doesn't have is any torpedo reduction. And as you can see, all it takes is 1 torpedo for a first blood, devastating strike, kill number 1. That is how it's done. It's done. And now we're going to drive around in a circle, trying to get back into the cap circle. While I do that, let's talk about the Minsk using my favorite website, Wow's Builds. All right. Sigma of the Minsk 2.0. Fires per minute, 5.11. Arming threshold of the armor-piercing shells, 22 millimeters. Torpedo reaction time, 7.14 seconds. Clearly, that was not enough for the Summers commander. And I've got some stats pulled up here as we finally turn around and go back into Charlie. In a minute, I will give you the stat comparison. We are comparing these stats: hit points, firing range, high explosive damage per minute, maximum speed, and C detectability when we talk about the Minsk. So the Minsk used to be the only way you could play it is the way you will see me playing it in that early video if you go watch that. Playing from long range, kind of like the Gavras, you're just lobbing shells at people, didn't have a fast reload. You know, the only thing that really helped it in a close quarters fight was the short range torpedoes. Now that the torpedoes are a little bit longer range, you have the opportunity to do more damage than you would in, say, the Leningrad, which is why the Leningrad damage record is about 40,000 points less than the Minsk. And in the game that you did not see, after the survey on my page, the high damage game for me in this ship would have beat the Leningrad damage record, the damage record for the Leningrad. So it was about 145,000 damage here in the Minsk. And you can do that because of the longer range torpedoes. Now, you only have a 300-meter stealth torpedo window, but that's better than a negative stealth torpedo window, which the ship used to have by 1.7 kilometers. So as we capture Charlie and lob some shells at the North Carolina, the new Minsk is much more friendlier to new players, and I hope you appreciate the sacrifices that those who come before you had to do when grinding the ship. In my case, it was just basically get posterized by Zarkun and then free XP through the rest of it. All right, second kill there. Definitely a kill pinch. I'm not ashamed to say that. No shame in my game. All right, back to WoW's builds while we're looking for another target. Hit points. Number one ship at the tier, Z39. This is out of 28 destroyers at the tier. The Minsk is number 10, about 4,500 points behind the Z39. Firing range of the main battery. Number one, Gajamata, 11.1. Minsk tied for second with Le Terrible, Ognivoy, and Venom, and Sims, and Kiev, and Shiratsuyu. I didn't anticipate all those ships would be tied there. All right, I'm trying to figure out a way how to engage this Flint and Leon without getting killed, and I don't think I'm going to be successful at it, at least initially. That's what's going on there on the screen. All right, back to the high explosive DPM. Number one, Oland, 163,200. Minsk is 6th, 142,500. So a big boost in DPM. And then, as I mentioned before, Leningrad, just 114. Yikes. All right, maximum speed. The Minsk is first, tied with Le Terrible and Leningrad at 43 knots. Sea detectability, the Minsk is first, which isn't good. 7.5 kilometers, tied with Kiev. And that is your stat comparison for the Minsk. All right, here we smoked up. And I believe I smoked up initially because I was wanting to farm some damage, but those other ships disappeared from view. So instead, I will lob some shells at the Hipper, and I was hoping that this battleship and the Flint would come back out here, and quite frankly, they really are not going to do that at all. So we got one solo base cap, we got one legitimate kill, we got a kill pinch, and our team has a small lead, and now the enemy team is trying to take this cap, which I'm very set against. So we're going to try to monitor the Leon's movement here with our torpedoes. As you can see, he's not really doing anything. And if I think he's going to come out, I'm going to launch these torpedoes and hope he drives into them. They have relatively good stealth characteristics, but not great stealth characteristics. They're certainly not as stealthy as deep-water torpedoes. Now, since we've launched, looking around for other ships, got a Baltimore over there. I think going after the Flint is a bad idea, so I don't want to do it. But all of a sudden, here is the other destroyer. Shiratsuyu, one salvo. Shiratsuyu, a full salvo. Shiratsuyu into the mist. Do we get any kills? No. I think we got a fair amount of hits there, but now I have a problem where he has spotted me through proxy spotting, and he kills me. And all we have is this last gasp of torpedoes in our favor. And I know what you're saying right now. Hey, look at that. It's just a flesh wound, another torpedo strike, and another kill, ending up with 3 kills. So I know what you're saying. Not a very impressive match. And I thought so too. And now we're going to clip ahead to the end and not waste anybody's time. All right, everybody, the battle ended, and our team won the match. We ended up with, it's just flesh wound medal, a first blood medal, and a devastating strike medal. Just 25,073 total damage. 21 main battery hits, 2 torpedo strikes, 3 big kills, and a solo base cap. We ended up with 309,938 silver and 3798 ship XP and commander XP. And believe it or not, this was a 25-32 base XP game. 3 medals, 3 big kills, and a GG to the Suzuya and the Bayard. But you want a 2,500 base XP game? There it is. When you're down tier, you really don't have to do a whole lot to get a 2,500 base XP game. So I'm sorry this didn't show you any of the things the Minsk is good at. It really just showed you if you do your job as a destroyer, kill the other destroyers, capture at least 1 base cap, you end up with a pretty good base XP. All right, here in the port, main battery mod 2. Propulsion Mod 2, and Concealment System Mod 1. The Minsk is and has been fully upgraded for quite some time. Taking a look at the loadout, 2 charges of the smoke generator, 2 charges of the engine boost. We were running the common battle booster for speed. Got this permanent standard camouflage, and of course the early adopter flag. Moving on to the stats, 15,100 hit points with our build. Got those 5 130mm guns, 11.8 kilometer firing range, 3.7 second reload, 19.6 second turn time. HE shells, 1900 max damage with an 8% fire chance. AP shells, 2500 max damage. Moving on to the torpedoes, 2 quad launchers, reload every 110 seconds. Max damage, 17,933. 6 kilometer range at 70 knots. The detectability is 1,300 meters. And I would say these are pretty high damage torpedoes, so if you hit something, you're going to hurt it. AA defense, good enough to defend yourself. 23, I mean, that's okay, but if you're focused by a carrier, I think you'll get taken out. Max speed, 44.3 knots, 690 meter turning circle, 3.6 second rudder shift time. Concealment, 5.7 on the surface, 3.2 from the air, 2.8 when firing in smoke. All right, nothing special in the armor viewer. Let's move on to the commander. It is the exact same setup as every ship before it, pretty much, since the Podvoisky. We got Buy and Vine, and then we've got our typical gunboat build. Observant Rage, Look at Me Now, Twist and Track, which you need, Smoke on the Water, and Unstoppable. Anyway, that's the Minsk. You wanted a 2500 base XP game. I'm sorry, it didn't involve a lot of damage, but it was a 2500 base XP game. Anyway, if you enjoyed this video, hit that like button. I don't blame you for not liking it. I had games with a lot more damage, but you wanted to see 2500 base XP game, and that is literally all it takes.